Turn your focus inward and start to breathe long, slow breaths. Breaths that help you settle in to your body. Breaths that unite all parts of your body. Make you aware that you're part of this movement, this flow of energy that's you. We will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. It's always such an honor to be able to address you at these year-end gatherings. And this year, the coming to the close of 2025 is particularly poignant because the shift that has been going on, that all of you who are seeking this expanded consciousness and intending to bring peace have been working for and are now feeling the effects of all of that work. So today we want to look at 2025 and the completion of an incredible cycle that's coming to a close. And into 2026, which is a 1 year, a beginning year, a year of new beginnings. Understand why this new beginning is like nothing that has ever been before on the planet. And so every human being is getting pushed to expand, whether they want to or not, whether they think they are or not, whether they're even aware of what we're talking about or not. All humans on the planet are being impelled by this incredible consciousness of compassion that's rising up from within to meet the need of transformation and evolution and expansion. In 2025, many things were brought to a close. Things such as relationships that were degenerative, activities engaged in without full consent, people who are counterproductive, systems built on greed, ideas that have been perpetrated through propaganda, distinguishing lies from truth. All of these things are folding in on themselves because that's what happens when you make decisions for the good of the whole, each entity starting with themselves, taking care of themselves, and then turning and intending to create the greatest good for all. That synergy is compassion. And for those who are making decisions for the good of the few at the expense of the many, there is a deficit of grounded structure that folds in on itself. And that's why love prevails. That's why goodness and truth always rise. And this time, the goodness and the truth that's rising is coming out of the end of a cycle where you have had to experience what wasn't the goodness and the truth. You had to face the most evil empire to understand how good and compassion prevail in the end always. This journey is huge. It's a huge part of your personal growth, of your intergenerational growth, the growth of all the civilizations that have come before, it's a conclusion of such a massive part of the timeline that it's necessary to fuel the next step into the one and into the oneness. So you don't lose all of that in the past that was built upon the greed. You integrate it and redesign it into things that are for the good of the whole. And for those of you who have been studying energy, know that this is not something you're going to have to think much about. You're going to sit back and witness it happening. You'll see it happening in yourself where you're letting go of old habits, old needs. You're finding comfort and solace. You're practicing self-love, and you see the world rise up around you from that base and that grounding. So it's not something you have to go out and be doing. You're already doing it, but you're going to witness it and discover it and see it and be a part of intentionally creating with it. So as you close out 2025, bring this incredibly compassionate gentility to the end of a civilization structure. Honor all of the civilizations and all of the lives that you've gone through that have helped bring this change about, been a part and a participant of bringing this change about. The lives when you were the murdered, and then the lives when you were the murderers, the lives where you were the victims, and the lives where you were the perpetrators. You've all lived so many different facets through all of that time, through all of those civilizations, and all of it is coming to a close. And now is the time. So you may feel like you're not quite ready, or you haven't tied up loose ends from the past many lives and many civilizations. But you do not decide. It decides you. And because you've worked this hard, 2026 and this one year is going to be a spectacular display of everything that you have so been working for. And it starts with authenticity. That will be the watchword for the year. To be your authentic self, to honor who you are truly, and then articulate it in such a way that then dictates the manifestation around you. So when you're in a place where perhaps you've made a mistake, perhaps in retrospect, you regret an action that you took and you're being impelled to ask for forgiveness or to make amends, when you can honor yourself truthfully and compassionately, to be so truthful with yourself that you don't have to make up little lies about how it was justified or distract yourself and pretend that you didn't make that mistake. The more you can have this honest, open self-awareness, the more the truth will guide you to the highest good. So in that case, looking into your shadow side, taking ownership for actions and decisions that you've made that weren't for the greatest good, honoring those around you and articulating it, that's the healing process. That's the forgiveness. Whether or not the people that you allegedly wronged forgive you or not, it's your being truthful with yourself and accepting the outcomes as for the good of the whole. And that is 2026, is there's a new authenticity, not just about you being authentic with yourself, truthful with yourself in an honoring way, the world perceiving each other, the more authentic you are with yourself and that you can be, the more you will see others' authentic selves. And in the past, you might have met someone and you wanted to believe things about them. You wanted to trust them, perhaps before they proved that they were trustworthy, or maybe against an intuitive urging not to trust when the ego got in charge. Now you will be able to authentically perceive their shadow side, and not as an evil or something that's going to hurt you or you need to stay away from, but just as the truth. And then your body will be able to decide what it wants to manifest. Maybe there's something that needs to be manifest together with that energy. Maybe there's not. But as long as you stay true to listening to your intuition, honoring yourself, articulating yourself, working for the good of all, starting with you, there is really no other way forward into where you want to go than that. It all begins within each individual. And the beautiful part is in 2026, authentically, more people are being drawn to that. People are tired of conflict. They're being pushed away from the inauthentic structures as a way to create the new structures that are for the good of all. And it starts with the structure of community. People are tired of fighting each other over politics. It's changed in the past 5 years to where when the truth begins to arise, the truth that humanity is grounded in compassion, that begins to break down the power of the propaganda. And that is something that we don't want to predict outcomes, because we think that's part of the beauty of what's happening, is that you individuals who are committed to working for the good of all and committed to taking care of your own shadow sides are creating a force. And it's bigger than you know, because you can't see everyone who's tapping in to the compassion. And the more authentic people become next year, the bigger that synergy is going to grow. It's the intention of the souls involved, those of us in afterlife and those of you in life, to make this transition gracefully, lovingly, with joy as much as possible, with respect for all of humanity, with awe about the miraculous nature of human life right before your eyes going on. And so individually, it's simple enough to say your job is working for the good of all, period. What does that mean? When you have a fight with your sister, that you reflect upon yourself. Do you want to be right? Is that what you're working for, to prove that you're right? Then go inside and find out where you're telling yourself you're wrong, and first alleviate it there. And then when you go back to your sister, the shift will already have been made. So these are the important but daily awarenesses that 2026 is going to bring. The first beginning of the year, which is always exciting and hopeful in any beginning, is going to have more of a foothold, we'll say, because oftentimes people get caught up in the celebration of the beginning, and then it gets to be not as quite so joyful and not quite as easy, and things start to be a little harder, and then momentum gets lost. That's not going to happen here, not for you. It's going to be building from there. And you're already feeling that as synchronicity is increasing. We want you to continue to look for in the macrocosm the signs that the peace that you're making within you is building. Look also in every relationship that you have to see how you're intentionally authentic, and that authenticity is tied to working for the good of all. This is the most powerful stance that you can have as a human, no matter what's going on around you, is that you are there to observe and be an influence authentically tied to working for the good of all, starting with yourself. And as you start with yourself and you self-heal, you self-fulfill, you self-bliss, you do that, not the world around you. You do that for yourself. Nothing can take that away from you. Not bad weather, not bad people. You do that for yourself. You bliss yourself. And you bring that everywhere that you go. Every decision that you're faced with will now be underpinned by that. That is a huge, huge shift. And we feel like you're going to see this right out of the gate in 2026. And as you deal with the crumbling of the old, never forget this experiment that nothing is set in stone. Because when you set it in stone, you set it in stone. Even your self-care, taking care of yourself first. This isn't set in stone. This is a fluid movement that changes sometimes minute by minute, second by second, and you're in the flow of it. And that's what's going to guide you through as you see the old world come down. And let yourself be moved by the human drama, not subsumed, but moved, knowing that souls have come here at this time to help move this forward. And each has their own journey, their own path, their own karma that they're working out, their own intention. But know that even those who look as though they're working for the good of the few at the expense of the many are playing their part in the shifting dynamic of reality. And in the end, it's what you learn from that. It's how much more compassionate evil makes you. And it should. The more you face the evil, the more compassionate you should grow. There is no fight here. There is only truth. And the truth sets you free. And the truth is love and compassion and the way and the light. That's the truth. And that's who the world is rising up to live as. So as you're watching the divisions happen, because there will be in the drama that plays out, it's not as if powers that be that want to divide and conquer are not going to be influencing. But when you undermine them from within, the last thing that you see crumbling is the facade that they hold up. What goes on inside of them is crumbling before the facade crumbles. So don't be fooled by those who might be evil, who look like they're powerful, because they're crumbling from within. And the more you stand in your love for them, the more you're contributing to the butterfly emerging rather than the destruction of the caterpillar. And this is the experiment. This is what we're calling out to all the souls to take part in this worldwide, universal timeline movement to end this age of war, to create a parallel universe that has no need for war. There's no need to destroy and fight because you have disarmed yourselves. So let yourself be inspired by your own manifestation of compassion and love. Let that be the centering, grounding part of life, not what's going on around you. And bring that in. And you're going to find, particularly in March of this year, globally, there is a shift that happens having to do with cooperation. There's a lot to transform, but in March, this shift, it takes place in different parts of the world, seemingly independent of one another, but it has to do with cooperation and building and transcending the control that the forces in place think that they have over humanity. Because you can't fight it when it's changing from within. They cannot control you. No one can control you unless you give them your permission. And when they cannot control you, they start to dissolve from within because that is what their energy is for. And when we say they, we're talking about the forces of the universe, not so much this person and that person, although human beings play a part in manifesting it, of the darkness. And the light and the darkness are changing so that they are becoming a unified field rather than two separate fields. And there's a synergy about that where two or more are gathered. So the merging of your shadow side and of your compassionate side are creating an indestructible force that works for the good of all, including the darkness. You are all going to find yourselves being leaders in this movement next year, having language, being able to articulate firsthand to those who are finding their own authenticity in these ways. When you get into the spring or into April and May and June, there's a wide opening up and a celebration that starts to take place. And you're going to see it in small victories, perhaps struggles that have been fought for a long time that come to a righteous, just conclusion. You're going to see karma play out, which is inevitable, which is why you want the best karma that you can have. You're going to see a celebration of growth and change. You're going to see inventions that are coming out that are going to be revolutionary. In a way, inventors and technology and the progress of all that has taken a quick turn in the past 5 years in all of civilization. And yet we feel next year is that taking it to a new level, that the powers of compassion also invade those inventors. And simple solutions, efficient, safe, are going to start emerging. You yourselves are going to shift in how you eat and what you want to buy, what you want to bring into your life. There's going to be a whole consciousness shift of, rather than consumption, about compassion, preservation, and working for the good of all as a priority. You'll see the same evil world, but you won't be pulled into it. And this is such a major step in this long journey on the planet and on the school of Earth. This is truly a monumental year, 2026. When you get to the fall and into the end of the year, that is going to be the time for each individual to be able to reflect on your life, what you're doing, where you're going. There's going to be a lot of people shifting gears, perhaps leaving old careers and going into being self-employed or moving into a part of the world that really resonates more, letting go of things that you might have collected over the years that you thought you wanted and needed, and naturally letting them go and shifting into a more minimalist frame of mind. A lot of people will be reconsidering what they eat and where they spend time. And more people are going to be aware that they have the power to bring their communities together, that looking at your neighbors as your enemy is no longer serving anyone, and you're ready to let go and look more humanitarian rather than political structures or religious structures or skin color structures, cultural structures, to look at how to bridge the gaps so that we can come together and bring this humanity that's emerging into a truly new compassionate era. So it is a very, very exciting time to be alive. For those of you who don't want to be responsible, who want to keep perpetuating the us versus them, pointing your finger outside yourself at everyone else, that's what you will build and experience. And for those of you who are embracing the truth that you are all one, and you're going to first and foremost take care of yourself, your light and your dark, and then intend to turn to the world with that unity to work for whatever the good of the whole is, you are going to make light year steps together and independently of each other. And this is just the first year of a 30-year cycle of building yourselves into that peace, that new earth. And some of that will be the new children who will be coming in much more prone towards nature. A lot of that totally was an unanticipated truth that's coming up for all of the evil that wanted to take hold and control. Ultimately, love is the most powerful thing that there is. Love embodied in a human being is one of the most powerful things in the universe. Humans embodied with love, intentionally working for the good of all, has never been seen on the planet before. So get ready to be a part of this first step. And we are so honored to be here with you every step of the way. So are there questions or conversation?
I just want to thank you very much. I'm very excited for the new year and I'm very inspired. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, same here. I want to thank you so much. It was very insightful. I have one question. There is starting, or there has been starting, a big network. It's called Global Information Network or Intelligent Network, GIN, they are called. It's about giving people in general a kind of a program how to create more wealth and health and happier life and happier relationships in general, using the universal energies in a way that only the elites knew about or the secret societies knew about, and it's more making it available for the normal person. Do you have any insights about that and how that's connected to the general development in these next 30 years?
Yes. Well, the push that you're referring to with this organization is based on the fact that you don't need technology. Ultimately, humans don't need technology. While there's a culture that's built on technology, it doesn't preclude others from developing the power of being human. And there are no more secret societies. They have realized that so often when people come together to garner power, quote unquote, power over people, that it quickly degenerates away from compassion. This organization is providing merely information on an open system for people to access, to use for the good of the whole. They're not anticipating having to be a part of a club, having to adhere to dogma like the secret societies have. And many of the secret societies have been about control over other people. The other secret societies, such as Hildegard and those who went underground, did so to prevent persecution. But even those societies are not secret anymore. There is no more secret society. And so you're going to see more and more and more of that rising up in big organizations, in small organizations, in attitudes, in people. And it's that voluntarily releasing yourself from being controlled by any outside force that is what brings all of that forward in manifestation. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much. That's what I thought. Thank you so much.
Well, we'll leave you closing the channel for 2025 to say how many times we've gathered at the end of a year to reflect backward and gaze forward. This feels different. It feels whole and deep and rich and grounded and hopeful and optimistic and joyful. These are things that are within your control and have nothing to do with what you see transpiring outside yourself. And as more and more humans go to cultivate this truth within them, synergy arises, the energy expands, the consciousness joins together, and truly miracles will be unfolding as we speak. And when that happens, we don't have to remind you to just watch and be amazed. Namaste.